This all comes as Bieber's followers are worried for him, the singer's erratic social media posts causing concern week after week, the Beliebers asking if what he's seen behind the scenes of the industry led him to this point.
So these videos of Diddy with Justin Bieber when he was only 15 years old are resurfacing, and the one thing that I want to ask is, why was a 40-year-old hanging around with a 15-year-old? Why did no one think that was an issue? Or
So I am here in the doctor's office, and what we are about to do is the nurse is going to put in an IV, and it's called NAD. And basically what it does is it's going to flush out some of the toxins. I've abused my body in the past, and now I'm just in recovery process, trying to make sure I'm taking care of my body.
Did Justin Bieber just expose Diddy? Now, people have been asking the same question. What if I told you that some of the biggest names in music, stars you've followed, streamed, and idolized, have a dark chapter in their come-up story that no one wanted to talk about? And what if the common link between them wasn't just fame, but the mysterious, chaotic orbit of one man, Sean Diddy Combs? But according to recent tea spilled by none other than Justin Bieber, that image may just be the tip of a very dark iceberg. One that carries more names than we could imagine, and it seems like more rappers are about to get dragged in this mess. I am talking about the likes of Jay-Z, Usher, Mary J. Blige, Dababy, and a lot more. Let's break it down. So for years, fans thought Justin Bieber's bad boy era was just another teenage meltdown, something that came with the territory of fame. But now things are starting to click. What if those breakdowns, those awkward interviews, those concerning paparazzi moments weren't just Bieber being dramatic, but the visible scars of something much darker? Because now, Justin is speaking, and what he is saying is sending shockwaves through Hollywood. It all started when Justin dropped a not-so-subtle video of himself eating a slice of pizza on social media. At first glance, totally harmless, right? Just a casual moment of a celeb snacking. But here's where it gets creepy. The timing was too perfect. He posted it right as Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, was testifying in court against the music mogul. Yeah, the same Cassie who was once considered the first lady of Bad Boy and one of the closest people to Diddy for over a decade. Now, most people would scroll past and think, cool, Justin's having lunch. But the internet? The internet never misses. Especially not when it comes to celebrity symbolism, conspiracies, and hidden meanings. Fan forums, Reddit threads, and Twitter detectives lit up. That pizza? That wasn't just dinner. To many, it looked like a message. Some say it was a nod to Pizzagate, the infamous and controversial conspiracy theory alleging child trafficking rings among the elite. But others took it one step further. They noticed the video angle. It didn't look like a regular iPhone selfie. It looked like surveillance footage, almost like it came from a hidden camera. The eerie overhead perspective, the timestamp glitching on the edge of the screen, it felt deliberate. And if you know Diddy's history, this is where it gets really twisted. See, Cassie's testimony wasn't just about abuse, it was about blackmail. According to court documents and public reports, Combs didn't just control Cassie physically or emotionally, he allegedly documented their private moments. Cassie testified that Diddy threatened to release sex tapes of her to her industry contacts. Not just leaks to embarrass her, but deliberate, targeted threats. Think about that. Someone you dated, someone who had power over your career, threatening to send your most intimate moments to record labels, agents, directors, even your own parents. That's not just manipulation, that's psychological warfare. But wait, it gets worse. Cassie also testified that Diddy would record freak-offs, his private, often coerced parties, with hidden cameras. These weren't just freaky moments caught on tape. These were weapons. Diddy allegedly kept an archive, a digital dungeon of blackmail material he could use if anyone stepped out of line. According to Cassie, he would remind her that those tapes existed.
You guys, Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, has revealed so many disturbing and disgusting things in her testimony. She revealed that during these freak-offs, Diddy would record and take photographs of her in these freak-offs, and then he would later use them against her and blackmail her if she refused to participate in them again. Or if she tried to leave, he would blackmail her with these pictures and videos to keep her from leaving or keep her from speaking out. And I really can't imagine being Cassie in this situation, because at the time, Diddy was so loved and so high up in Hollywood. I'm sure it was really scary to have those things in his possession.
That if she ever tried to leave or expose him, he'd ruin her. He didn't even stop there. He reportedly threatened her parents too. Now put that in perspective. A man with billion-dollar connections, with the reach to call up executives and media heads saying, "If you ever disobey me, I'll destroy your life, your name, and your family." That's not a mentor. That's a mob boss. So when Justin Bieber casually posted a pizza video that looks like it was filmed from one of those very same hidden angles, the internet knew it wasn't random, especially given that Bieber allegedly knew about the tapes. He'd been in the house. He'd seen the cameras. He knew better than to be talking about what Big Brother Puff does on national TV. And now, he's doing just that. At the same time, it's pretty possible that he knew who the other people Diddy had mentored. It's almost impossible not to be aware of the faces that had been victims of the same scheme.
For me, being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
As a result, fans believe that Justin was sending a subtle signal to those who've been paying attention, those who've been digging through the lawsuits, the rumors, the trauma. Like he was saying, he saw a lot, knew the faces, and knew more than we could ever imagine. That includes rappers and other celebs who might have experienced the same suspicious mentorship with Diddy. And now, as Diddy's empire shakes under the weight of years of secrets, victims, and surveillance footage allegedly stashed away for insurance, more voices are rising. The tapes? The threats? They weren't rumors. They were real. And if Cassie's testimony is any indication, the pizza wasn't just food. It was a signal. And Justin knew exactly what he was doing. But this wasn't the first time Justin hinted at something more sinister. You see, back when Justin was just a wide-eyed kid with a dream, he got swept into the world of Diddy. Scooter Braun, the guy who discovered him, teamed up with Usher to form a joint venture that helped launch Justin's career. And in the mix, Diddy, a man who, at the time, was known for mentoring young artists, throwing lavish parties, and allegedly having more control than anyone realized. In one clip from 2009, a 15-year-old Justin is hanging with Diddy, who tells viewers that they've spent 48 hours together. Diddy jokes that he's not Justin's legal guardian, but the vibe is very parental, or at least pretending to be.
Why did no one think that was an issue or a red flag? And also, listen to what he says in this clip.
They're having the times of their lives, like where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me.
Diddy then says, where we're hanging out and what we're doing, we can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. That's where the red flags started flying. Because what kind of grown man is hanging out with a teenage boy unsupervised and bragging about doing things he can't disclose? Fast forward to 2010, and there's another clip where Diddy teaches Bieber how to swag walk and then accuses him of not calling or hanging out like we used to, like he's hurt, like he feels abandoned. And that's the recurring theme, this weird push-pull relationship where Diddy would latch onto young male artists, mentor them, offer the world, and allegedly expose them to way more than music. And that brings us to Usher, another golden child of the industry. Another teen star with a Diddy connection that fans are now viewing in a very different light. Usher met Diddy when he was just 13 years old. 13! Let that sink in. Diddy didn't just mentor Usher, he became his legal guardian for a while and brought him to New York to live with him. The goal? To teach him how to be a star. And sure, on paper, that sounds like a great opportunity. But in reality, according to Usher himself, it wasn't what it seemed. He's dropped hints over the years. Never anything outright, never a tell-all or a direct accusation. But if you've been paying attention, Usher's been trying to tell us something for a long time. Let's take it back to when Usher was just 13 years old, barely a teenager, a kid with dreams, raw talent, and a voice that could already melt hearts. After he signed a record deal with L.A. Reid, his journey into the music industry took a hard left turn. Reid didn't just pair Usher with a vocal coach or send him to artist development like most new signees. Nope, he sent him to live with Diddy in New York. That's right. At 13 years old, Usher was packed off to Diddy's estate in Scarsdale, a luxurious mansion in one of the richest suburbs in the country. But this wasn't just some cushy pad with a home studio. No, this was Diddy's world. And if you know anything about Diddy, especially back then, it was wild. Usher called the place Flavor Camp. Sounds harmless at first, right? Like some boot camp for grooming the next big star. But when you listen to what Usher said over the years, it becomes clear Flavor Camp was anything but innocent.
I lived with Sean Puffy Combs for a year.
That's the crazy thing. Now, that was L.A. Reid's idea, right? We're sending you
New
over
York
to
City.
something called Puffy Flavor Camp.
There you go.
You were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried to, some woman didn't come along.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
I didn't say that. What I did say is that there were very curious things taking place. And I didn't necessarily understand it.
Would you ever send your kid to Puffy Camp?
Hell no.
He's spoken about it in interviews, sometimes with a smile, but always with that look in his eyes, like the words didn't quite match the weight of what he really remembered. He once joked about fighting over Frosted Flakes with Diddy. But behind the jokes, you could tell there was more, something darker. Because that house wasn't just a place to learn about music, it was a portal into an adult world, a world Usher had no business being in. He admitted that the house was full of women, that there were always people around, that you could open a random door and walk in on anything. And I mean anything. Orgy rooms, people hooking up in the middle of the day, multiple bodies tangled up in dark-lit corners. For a teenage boy who had just left the South to chase his dreams, it wasn't just overwhelming, it was damaging. But Usher didn't have the words for it at the time. He didn't know what he was looking at, he didn't know how to process it. And here's the thing. Diddy didn't shield him from it. He let him see it. No guidance, no warning, just a front row seat to chaos. Usher said himself, he went there to see the lifestyle. And boy, did he. He didn't fully understand it back then, but now, looking back, he knows exactly what it was. A crash course in excess. A behind-the-scenes tour of how the powerful really move when the cameras are off. Years later, when Usher sat down with Howard Stern to promote his film, Hands of Stone, the conversation shifted. Stern didn't shy away from the topic. He asked Usher straight up about his time with Diddy. And Usher? He didn't dodge it. He described it as pretty wild. Said curious things were going on. He paused, struggling to explain what he'd seen. Like even now, as a grown man and a father, he still didn't have the words for it. It was too much. Too fast, too inappropriate. And then Stern asked the big one, "You're a dad now. Would you ever send your kid to a Puffy camp?" And Usher, without skipping a beat, replied, "Hell no. Let that sink in." The same flavor camp that was supposed to elevate him into stardom, the same Diddy mentorship that was celebrated in magazines and interviews for decades. Usher wouldn't let his own child experience it because he knows what went down. And when Homeland Security raided Diddy's homes in LA and Miami, that old clip of Usher resurfaced. The internet started doing what it does best, connecting dots.
Just because we want to have a good time.
Multiple safes broken into, drawers ripped open, closets ransacked, boxes of gun ammo, and Grammy Awards. New images from TMZ show inside Diddy's ransacked Beverly Hills mansion during the coast-to-coast raids where no arrests were made.
People in the home are traditionally detained during raids, so they don't flee, and so they don't destroy evidence.
The rapper's attorney calls it a witch hunt with an excessive show of force and hostility that led to a premature rush to judgment, adding Diddy will continue to fight every single day to clear his name.
Suddenly, all the little comments, The side-eyes, the careful wordplay in interviews, it started to make sense. Usher had seen things he may not have been supposed to see, things that had stayed with him. And still, he hasn't told the full story. Maybe he can't. Maybe he's scared. Or maybe he's waiting for the right moment. But the fact that he's never once tried to deny what happened, that silence speaks louder than any accusation. Because when you survive a place like Flavor Camp, when you're old enough to look back and say, I didn't even understand what I was looking at, and when you can't imagine letting your own kid go through the same thing, that's not just a memory, that's trauma. And just like Bieber, Usher was caught in the gravity of a man who held too much power for far too long. Now let's pause. Because if someone says hell no when asked if they'd let their kids go through what they did, that's not just nostalgia talking, that's a nightmare. Usher's social media silence in recent years has also raised eyebrows. In September 2024, he wiped his entire X profile clean. Every single post gone. Fans asked why, and Usher claimed he was hacked. But the timing, right when Diddy's name started popping up in federal investigations. Coincidence? Fans don't think so.
Yo, the amount of people that must be feeling pressure, bro. Look, Usher and Pink both deleted all their tweets. They both have empty Twitter accounts.
And here's the kicker. Usher isn't alone. Justin isn't alone. Because now Justin's allegedly revealing a whole list of rappers and celebrities Diddy mentored or took under his wing. We're talking about Meek Mill, Dababy, Mary J. Blige, and others whose names haven't even been dropped yet. And here's where things get spicy. One of the biggest bombshells in this spiraling web of allegations didn't even come from Justin Bieber himself. It came from Rodney Lil Rod Jones, a music producer who used to work closely with Diddy. When he filed that now infamous lawsuit, it wasn't just some petty industry dispute. It was a legal grenade, loaded with accusations of drugging, manipulation, assault, and blackmail. But buried in the dense 70-page document was one chilling detail that sent the internet into full detective mode. Jones claimed that Diddy had allegedly bragged about having sexual relations with two major celebrities, one being a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj, and the other being a performer who had a successful Las Vegas residency and had performed at the Super Bowl. Now, Diddy never dropped any names in the filing, but the clues, they were too specific to ignore. Fans were quick to piece it together. Philadelphia rapper, dated Nicki Minaj, all signs pointed to Meek Mill, Super Bowl performer with a Vegas residency that screamed Usher. And just like that, Twitter exploded. The fandom sleuths started pulling receipts, timelines, and performance history. And while both Meek Mill and Usher were never explicitly named in the documents, the descriptions fit like a custom designer glove. Even 50 Cent had commented about this, saying Meek reacted to much. Now, Meek Mill didn't take this lightly. Nope, he went full Philly. He took to X and started firing off a series of heated posts. He denied everything with the same street-level rawness he's known for, saying no man ever approached him with anything gay, and even claimed he'd throw down $100,000 for an investigative team to find out who started these rumors in the first place. To Meek, this was war, and his rep was on the line. But that aggressive defense? It didn't stop the internet from spinning. In fact, it attracted even more attention when controversial influencer Andrew Tate jumped in. Out of nowhere, he quote-tweeted an old post of his that said, "I don't talk to famous people anymore because they're all gay and weird." That tweet suddenly took on a new life in the context of the Diddy drama. It was vague, yes, but the timing? Icy cold and intentional. And that's the thing. In this story, it's never just about what's said outright. It's the subtext, the hints, the silent nods. Diddy's world, as it turns out, has always run on innuendo, secrecy, and influence. And if Lil Rod's lawsuit is any indication, the surface-level story barely scratches the chaos bubbling underneath. But the louder he got, the more suspicious fans became. Why deny it so aggressively? Why threaten to flip the whole place if someone approached you? It's like Meek was doing damage control before the story gained traction. Some fans think Meek is scared, that he's pushing back not because it's all fake, but because admitting anything now would ruin his career, his street cred, and his personal life. Vulnerability in the rap game? Not easy, especially when the allegations involve one of the most powerful men in music. Others? They just ran with the memes. But Meek Mill? Oh, he wasn't about to just sit back and let the internet cook up whatever narrative it wanted. Nope. He hit that post button fast. And when he did, it was like lighting a match in a room full of gasoline. See, with Diddy now facing a federal trial for sex trafficking and racketeering and everyone's name getting thrown around like confetti, Meek decided it was time to set the record straight. He jumped on social media and straight up called out the wave of rumors linking him to that explosive lawsuit from Rodney Lil Rod Jones. Now, Lil Rod never explicitly said Meek's name, but let's be real. The clues were way too close for comfort, and the blogs, they ran with it like it was gospel. Meek wasn't having it. He clapped back hard, saying the whole thing felt like a targeted attack on his brand, and he wanted answers. He even questioned why the lawsuit, which had been dropped, was suddenly being thrown back into the spotlight right when Diddy's trial was heating up. Timing, huh? And then Meek dropped something that caught everybody's attention. He said the wildest thing he ever saw at a Diddy party wasn't what people were thinking. It wasn't freak-offs, blackmail, or any of that messy speculation. Nah, for Meek, the craziest moment was the rampant drug use. Straight up, he called it coke vibes. And not just at Diddy's house, he said that kind of energy is everywhere in the industry. And just so nobody twisted his words, Meek made it very clear. He's not about that life. He reminded folks he's from North Philly, that he's been rich since 23, and he's never even wanted to get hooked on weed, let alone anything harder. It was his way of saying, I've seen the chaos, but I'm not part of it. So while some people stay quiet and let the speculation swirl, Meek? He jumped right into the fire, and whether it was damage control or just frustration bubbling over, one thing's clear. He's not letting his name get dragged without a fight. Then you've got rappers like Fabulous, who shared a hilarious but telling story. He once dipped out of a Diddy party using the classic Irish exit move. Told Diddy he was going to the bathrooms and never came back. Why? Because it was 7 a.m. and Diddy was still going. Fabulous straight up admitted he didn't want to be the turn down to the turn up. Translation? Even Fab thought Diddy's vibe was doing too much. Veteran rapper Uncle Luke also dropped hints about Diddy's wild side. On a Miami podcast, he said he never stuck around Diddy's parties long. When asked why, he said, I don't know what goes on after hours, but I wasn't trying to find out. Smart move, he also declined to appear in the music video for French Montana's Pop That, which was produced by Diddy and sampled one of Luke's songs. When asked if he at least got paid, he said no. Why? Because not all money is good money. So now we've got Justin Bieber posting cryptic videos. We've got Usher scrubbing his socials and refusing to talk. We've got Meek Mill throwing Twitter tantrums. And we've got artists like Uncle Luke saying, nah, I'm good. All roads lead back to Diddy. And this isn't even touching on the allegations surrounding his parties, the surveillance tapes, or the rumors about how he allegedly used blackmail to control people. Those whispers? They're turning into screams. Remember that lawsuit with liquor company Diageo? Yeah. Diddy claimed they didn't support his vodka brand properly. But then Diageo clapped back, revealing that despite raking in nearly $1 billion in sales, Diddy only invested $1,000 into the brand. $1,000. It made people wonder, was Diddy a business genius? Or was he just good at playing puppet master, convincing people to go along with his plans while holding all the leverage behind the scenes? Justin Bieber's rise to fame wasn't just about YouTube and catchy pop hits. It was about being in the middle of this twisted ecosystem. From 13 years old, he was surrounded by adult executives, intense parties, and, allegedly, blackmail schemes. He was introduced to adult fun at an age when he should have been playing video games and going to school dances. And now, years later, he's revealing just how deep those wounds go. Not with dramatic tell-alls, but with quiet posts, pizza slices, deleted tweets, hints, and that says even more. Because when someone like Justin, who once had the world eating out of his hand, chooses silence over spectacle, that's when you know the story runs deep. So what's next? Is Justin going to name more names? Is Usher ever going to speak? Will more of Diddy's proteges come forward? At this point, it feels less like if and more like when. And when that happens, the industry might not look the same. Behind the Grammys, the platinum plaques, and the club anthems is a legacy built on silence, secrets, and possibly control. So stay tuned, because as always, the truth doesn't hide forever. And in Diddy's world, the walls are starting to talk.